Good morning, my name is Jim McPherson. I happen to be the luckiest man alive every day because I get to wake up and be the technical training coordinator at what I feel is the finest wastewater treatment facility in the United States. I can say that now because I went to Washington and I visited a site over there, and I can still profess that we're the best wastewater. Now, I'm biased, of course, because I'm employed there, but it still is a wonderful place to work. I'm here today to talk to you about a subject that normally I go for an hour and a half to 2 hours in front of folks. I try to make it interactive. I'm not a podium kind of person, as you could tell, but I only have about 25 minutes to get there from here. There it is. So my objectives today is give you an overview of Union Sanitary District real quick. Why did we do what we did? And then what our training system focus is today. And then the training system itself that we've employed, which is a competency-based training system. And then I'm going to make a quick connection for those of you in the HR world in the room to how we are going to begin to bring this data that we're collecting within the training system in the long-term staffing and succession planning. And our HR rep, Administrator Judy Berzon's in the back. So I already told her that this year is the year I'll be rocking the world because training and HR will meet. So who are we? We're a special district to provide wastewater treatment. We were founded in 1918. We service an area between here and Oakland in the East Bay, Fremont, Newark, and Union City. We have 325,000 people we serve every day. We have about 762 miles of pipe. Our average dry flow is 27.5 MGD. In the last week's rain season that we had last week, we were processing, I believe our high point was 59 and a half. So we were well above ours. We're not a huge plant. We're not San Jose wastewater treatment plant, but we do our part. We have 132 whopping employees. That's a lot, right? No, for some of you, I know Metropolitan Water is in here, and they have, what, thousands. But it's a highly professional organization with our 130 employees, and they do a lot, of which 68 of them are our operating group folks that are mainly I'm going to talk about today. What was the need for this system? I was hired in November 2003 because the Union Sanitary District wanted a training coordinator to direct the training system, because at that point they didn't have a training system in place or a program existed. They were piecemeal, and there's trainings happening fragmented throughout the system, but it wasn't centralized with a training system that could sustain itself even if I wasn't there. Also, compliance. We all know what that is in the room. We all have to be in compliance. We need a skilled workforce. We have no degree requirements in our operating groups, the plant ops, mechanics, and collections. However, the plant ops folks must be state certified, so we have to do some training and education in that area. And nobody is providing our system-specific training. How many of us hire out and go and hire consultants to bring into your organizations to teach generic things such as pumps and motors or head gates and flows and controls, and they're going to teach you off-the-shelf stuff, but for the most part, they're not going to teach you your head gate or your pump station or your pumps or your motors or your centrifuges or your flows. They're going to teach you generic, and then your workers have to go out and extrapolate that information into their system. Well, in our system, we want to have a system that the training is specific to ours. 15% of our workforce has indicated in the past, of course the economy have changed that they can retire in the next 5 years. 25% of workforce, if they wanted to, could retire today. What resources have we applied to this over the last 6 years that I've been at Union Sanitary? Well, there's me. They hired me, thank God. We now have a full-time plant operator trainer who is a plant operator, but because of his expertise in training, the fact that he knows our plant so well, and he does such a good job at training, they made a special position for him, and they call him the plant operator trainer. He works as a plant operator, but the majority of his time is executing the plant operations training program in the plant. We've had a full-time intern on staff for the last 3 years, 3 of them. 2 have been hired elsewhere and left us, of course. Now we have a 3rd one in place who's currently in the collection systems department helping us to develop material that I'm about to go over. We have the support of over 12 operating group subject matter experts within the plant maintenance and collections. And of course, we have our lab. Our lab is right outside the door. We have the equipment, we have our systems, and that's what we're going to build our training system upon. At Union Sanitary District, it's a competency-based system. We define it with our mission task for the areas that you see up on the screen. Those are our operating group personnel. We are just now starting a discussion to reach out in our competency-based system into what we call the big house, the admin section. That's what the operating group folks call it. And So I'm working with, right now, our principal financial analyst for doing a training module package for her, and our environmental compliance side of the house. We've just started discussions there. What is our training system that we have? This competency-based system that I've been talking about. It has 4 sections that I'm about to talk to you today. First one I'm talking about is training modules. What is a training module? It's a collection of documents that together we use to train, qualify, and certify, and then assess our employees on their ability to carry out their assigned tasks. We assess their knowledge and skill and ability in the areas that I'm about to show you when we develop these competencies. The components of a training module are a job competency requirement package. This contains the knowledge and skill line items that individual plant operators, mechanics, electricians, instrument techs, and collection systems workers need to know. It also, within that job competency requirement, contains an assessment form that we use to track the qualification or the assessment of an employee when they're doing a task. So, which I'll show you here in a minute. When we go out and we assess, there are specific questions that we're looking for that they answer either verbally or through their actions when they carry out a task. We also do something that I think that makes us very different from everyone else. And that is, for every single one of these tasks, and we have thousands of them now, I think we're over 2,000 now. For every single one of these tasks, we write an answer. And I'm about to get into a phrase later on that I call wiggle, or what good looks like. And I'll explain to you why we write an answer for those competencies that I'm about to show you. And then we have standard operating procedures tied to these modules. I'm not going to get into standard operating procedures. We all have them. We have a format that we use. You have your format that you use. But they are tied to this competency-based system. The job competency requirement contains the minimum knowledge and skills that an individual must demonstrate. Notice I said the minimum because it's impractical for us to go through and extrapolate all the knowledge you need to know of every single theory, of every single scenario that might occur while you're employed at Union Sanitary District. So we sit there with the subject matter expert and says, what is the minimum knowledge and skills he needs to identify to be able to do this job of influent pumping, secondary treatment, primary sedimentation. If we go to collections, the Vactor truck, the TV truck, the backhoe, the skid steer loader. If you go over to the mechanics, pump station mechanic, we also have force main electricians. We have our electrical system for them that we built these JCRs on. The JCR contains 3 sections. A 300 section, which are the tasks. These are what do I have to do influent pumping? What do I have to do to operate the headgate controls at a pump station? What do I have to do to dig that trench? And we sit with the subject matter expert and we ask him in a logical order, what are the tasks you do to do that? So our competencies are very, very deep in the muck, if you will. We don't have up in the ether competencies where if you look at a competency package, you bring in a consultant, they said, this person needs to know Microsoft Excel. We go into, this person needs to be able to manipulate that particular cell at that particular time and needs to know that. So we go kind of deep with our competencies. The next thing is, there's a 200 section where there's a systems. And this is, what do I need to know to be able to do that task? And we capture that with the subject matter expert. And I'll get into 200 and a 300 in just a second here. The next thing is, this outcome, we end up with a qualification package called the JCR. Once we have those 200s and 300s outlined by the subject matter expert, then what we do is I ask the question, do you really know or do you really want to know? And this is where I bring in wiggle, or what good looks like. I want you to think for a minute where you're employed right now. Given a task, where you work, who determines when an employee successfully demonstrates that task and that they're good to go? Who does? Does somebody anybody in the room want to volunteer and answer to that? Because I'll be